Hey there, cutie pies. It's Tanya Dantas, Motherhood Empowerment Coach, coming live to you today from my house here. And today, the topic I wanted to explore is something that comes up for all of my clients, really, and most of the women that I know. And I think that it's just a very normal thing that comes up in this world, and it's time we talk about it. So, the topic for today is sacred anger. So, in our society, women have been taught to keep quiet, to be meek, to be gentle and polite and soft and sweet, and to please and to be delicate and almost fragile. We have bound, in the Chinese tradition, they bind feet, and there's been corsets, and, there's this trend of being tiny, and all of this has contributed to women having anger. Whenever we do things or when we don't really want to do them, we have anger or we develop resentment toward the person or the situation. So this anger that is undealt with is going to be stored in our bodies. I mean, I don't have to tell you this again. Candace Pert, so many experts have already talked about how, Peter Levine, so many people talk about how pain and all emotions are really stored in the body. And when we don't address them, they can cause illness. So anger is definitely not something we want to hold in. And yet we have not been shown proper ways that we can really healthily express our anger or assert our boundaries or express our limits and ask for what we really want without also feeling really uncomfortable and dealing with all those feelings of how we've been conditioned to be this polite, sweet person. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about myself so that you understand where I'm coming from. I totally grew up to be the stereotype of this, meek, don't cause problems, just stay quiet and get really good grades and be a good dancer. And I had really great grades. I got, a 4.0 and I went to an Ivy League. And I had a lot of really high, not just academic, but other kinds of achievements. However, there was a lot of grief going on inside of me, a lot. And I mean, I can tell you another time about some of the stuff that went on in my inner world. But one of the things was that I was definitely an emotional overeater, and I was obese. Well, I was overweight, and I'm not entirely sure where the line falls, but I was definitely overweight, and it was definitely something that brought a lot of grief to me. There was a lot of strife and a lot of insecurities and problems with boys and all of that kind of stuff. So that was definitely part of the result of keeping those emotions stuffed in and locked in and not knowing and not having a safe environment in which to express, in which to be heard, and in which to be reflected what I was really going through and who I really was. And it was like those two get confused then. When we keep all that stuff bottled up, we kind of start to think, oh my God, I am the anger. Oh my God, I'm a scary person to be around, because if I really express who I really am, then I might scare people. So women, again, going back, have historically bottled in this anger. And what I'm inviting you here today as a sacred declaration to yourself is to begin honoring your anger. That's why the title of this vlog is Sacred Anger. And I am inviting you to take some time, take maybe half an hour of self-care time, and really give your anger some space. And let yourself see the kinds of things that you're holding anger about. And I really, really want to reflect to you, this may have to do with, your partner, your children, your people in your community, but it also might be things that are happening in the larger world, or things that are happening in the large scale with your life. Like, I really expected I would be here in my life, or that I would have this kind of support in my life. And this is what my real experience is like. and there's anger around that. I'm a mom, and I'm a wife, and I am getting a business, really successful, and that really takes up a lot of my time. And so I feel anger when people ask me to do this, or they overstep my boundaries, or they do not honor my alone time, or they do not honor when I'm on a call, or whatever that is. And I want you to give half an hour of your own loving presence, which I know you can be so loving to everyone else. And I want you to just really see these things that you're angry about as something that your anger is there for a reason. And so I want you to honor that, and if you feel called, I invite you to make an altar to this sacred anger, and to just start looking at this part of yourself that feels angry as a part of yourself that holds a key to your own development, to your own evolution. I know that when I started really paying attention to my anger, and instead of reacting to my own anger and just, yelling or lashing out somehow, or, for example, just giving up on something, like just being so frustrated that I would give up, or just walking out on a situation, I instead started harnessing like this energy, because anger is a tremendous amount of energy and passion. And that's part of why I am a motherhood empowerment coach. I personally see and feel that in motherhood especially, motherhood is such a sacred role. It's really the closest, you may have heard me say this before, but it's the closest thing or role that comes to God. You are birthing a child, you're nurturing and caring for it, and unconditionally loving it. Not all the time, but that is the role. And as human beings, it is nearly impossible to fulfill that role 100%. Why? Because human beings, we have limits. We have sleeping times, we have eating times, and as mothers, I don't have to tell you how much motherhood really pushes all of your limits completely and expands you way beyond anything you ever knew was even possible for yourself, beyond your limitations. Like the first few months, oh my God, are you even sleeping? If you're nursing, oh my God, when does it stop? Your body becomes the nourishment for this creature. And so I don't have to tell you. And then when you sum up with that, our cultural practices of having a spouse or a partner who has, needs and blah, blah, blah. And then we have other roles. We're a daughter, we're a friend, and on top of that, in our search for equality, we've now added to go back to the workplace or to be a breadwinner somehow as an entrepreneur. And this just is a lot to hold. Honestly, it's beyond any human possibility when you're actually doing it. In the mind, it's sure, I can do it. When you're doing it, I don't think there's any mom out there, and I know there's a lot of optimistic and positive moms who are kicking butt out there, but still, it's it's a challenge and it's a stretch, and it really pushes you beyond. And I'm not saying to shy away from that. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying you can't or that there's no way. I'm doing that. And I think that very invitation of stretching is causing us to see all of these places that we neglected, and this sacred anger arises. And we are meant to look at it and put into place, how can I set better boundaries? How can I set better plans up for myself so that I'm not all alone doing all the stuff I need to do, and that I feel heard and seen and valued? And that is why I love supporting moms and women in becoming their best version of themselves as moms, as partners, as entrepreneurs, as creative, embodied expressions of themselves out in the world. And that means that we're not just out there doing, but we're out there doing with our full selves Okay, so I invite you, if you haven't checked out my website, www.tanyadantis.com, and you can check out my blog, and you can sign up for my newsletter and get some freebies there. And I look forward to hearing about your altars for Sacred Anchor, and also any comments or feedback you have about this. I would love to hear. And I just really long to hear women expressing their full selves and their full needs and their full desires out in the world. And I think that the more women that we are out there doing that, the more just everything's going to rock, because we're going to have the supports in place that we need to really do what we came here to do. And so I'm here to support you. Let me know how I can do that. Book a discovery call with me. Go to tanyatime.setmore.com, and I look forward to speaking with you.